Hi guys, as many of you know, there is a monthly challenge group on my journal workshops community, and for this month or next month, June's challenge, I'm going to share a tutorial as well as a challenge. So what I thought I would do is share the tutorial now to give everybody in the group a heads up so that you can make this project before the challenge hits, so you've got it ready to go if you want to. But I just thought it was a really quick, it's a very simple technique for reusing all of your used paper towels that you might get through, like I do, in my mixed media processors. So keep all of your scrap paper towels, don't throw them away, and I will show you this very simple technique for making them into a reusable material. There is a few ways that I reuse my used paper towels. The way that I'm going to show you now is probably the easiest way possible. I may in the future show you other ways that I recycle my paper towels, but for now, just for the upcoming page for the group, I'll show you the quickest way to probably make the surface reusable again as a surface. So what you need is obviously your recycled paper towels, and then you'll need some PVA glue or some Elmer's glue or white glue, whatever you have in your country that you have access to, and you'll need to mix it with water. Now I would suggest probably 60% glue to 40% water, but that is based on my glue consistency. So something like a Mod Podge, say Mod Podge, if you hear that, it's a lot more watery, so I probably wouldn't put as much water in a Mod Podge. I use it 60-40 this way, and I just eyeball it. Obviously I don't do it exactly, but I just eyeball, and I want something that I can spread, but I don't want anything too runny, but I don't want anything that's too sticky. It's just an eyeball game really, and what you prefer to spread. The thicker your glue, the denser the end product will be, I guess. It's not as flexible, not as terrible, so it's more durable, but it's also more solid. It's going to be less like paper or fabric. It'll be more like clay or a solid structure if you just use something, a glue, say, that was undiluted. So it depends on taste really, but this is my kind of preferred texture, where it's still, you can tell it's a glue, it's not water, but it's runny. That's my preferred state for this project. So it's super simple. All you do is lay your paper towel down flat and pick which side you prefer. Now I tend to do a lot of dabbing with my paper towels like this, so my towels aren't necessarily even, like here I can't pull it out straight, but it doesn't matter, you can use any paper towels you like for it. So just begin spreading out, and I'd suggest using a brush rather than a spreader, you know, rather than something like this or a credit card. I'd suggest using a brush because you're not going to tear the paper, and you can also get it really well saturated. It's a messy project, I'm not going to lie. You want to get all of this glue into the nooks and crannies, which is why I also like it to be a bit runny, so that it absorbs into the paper. You don't have any then globules of glue showing at the end. It's completely gone, and all you have left is the actual paper fabric itself. Or it feels like a fabric consistency, which is why I'm calling it a fabric, but it's like a mix between, because this glue gives it a solidity that paper doesn't have. So as you can see, it's completely drenched, and if I'd leave it, it would be stuck onto the mat that I've got here. So you need something that it's not going to adhere to completely, that you can't pick it back up. But that is also why I would use a PVA glue rather than a harsh, tacky kind of glue, or something that really means that it will stick to whatever surface. you put it on. This is always going to be peelable. So I fold it over and then I smooth out the areas and get the air bubbles out. You can do it with the brush if you don't want to have the glue on your hands. Again, I'm just saturating this side because this is going to go over again onto this one. Now anywhere where you can see on the edges where the glue isn't going right up, do it again, and then what you need to do with that is leave it overnight to dry, or hit it with the glue gun if you want to speed it up, but it will take a little while, so just give it its time. And you can do that with, this one's a pretty one, as many as you like, or what you can do is, rather than folding it over 4 times, is you can use 4 full paper towels. But the problem with that is you're going to lose a lot of your patterns. So this is why I prefer to do the smaller sizes, but it's up to you. And on these ones that stick together, because I'm not always that careful with my paper towels, once I use them I often put them to one side to dry, scrunched up, because I'm more focused on my actual project. And if that's the case and a piece of tissue paper is unusable for this project, this one's fine. Look, I mean, there's a little hole in it, but if I was going to put it next to that one, then there would be no issue there with it. Especially if I'm going to sandwich it with other ones on top. But what I would do with some pages, if they're really, like this one, they're really small, I might use that to patch up another page, another strip of paper fabric, or I would just put this aside and use these in my journal pages. I do just use these for texture in my journal pages, so don't throw away your paper towels, whatever you do. They're not just, here's one I have used in a journal page. I remember the texture and the colours. So yeah, don't throw away something just because it's had its purpose of, original purpose of what you want. You've still got all of this colour and all of this interest and texture and everything on this, so why not reuse it into something else? So I'm just going to get cracking with these. And when you put the second paper towel down onto the first that has got glue on it, tap it down first so that it does adhere to it before you then put the second layer of glue on, because otherwise it's going to shift on you. And it is the same process through every layer. Once you've put down the glue, you need to take out the air bubbles before you go on to the next layer. Because otherwise it will not be one cohesive piece. You want it to really be a solid piece. And there is one good thing about layering up your pages, because you can see through. So if there's a few pages that you don't like the look of so much individually, to turn into an individual page, a little small one, maybe like this. So it's got a bit of interest there, but it's not like incredible. I'm going to turn it this way so that I can get this bottom piece covered. So it's kind of like a jigsaw. You want to fill out, do patchwork on areas where there isn't that much already going on in terms of paper and pattern. If I wanted to make sure that this bit got a bit of extra support as well, I could then use this half bit. On that area, and then that's given that extra bit support. And it may seem like it's one really big messy wet slimy thing, and it is, but at the same time it's not overly wet where I'm dripping, because the paper obviously absorbs it all and it stays in the paper. So the end product is not like it's, you know, the paper towel anymore. It has become both of these things combined that gives it that really solid surface. Okay, I think that's our last one. And it's almost like you can't put too much glue on it. It just takes and takes and takes and takes, which is why I also like to mix it with water. Okay, last air bubbles out. If you want to lift up the layers, and look, as long as you do the air bubble thing of taking out all of the air, they adhere so well that they just come up in one sheet. So you don't need to worry about them peeling off or whatever. As long as you have used the glue to saturate the paper and then gone through on every layer and moved out any air bubbles, it will stay, even while it is wet, as one solid sheet. Okay, so leave these to dry and then I'll be back in a minute. Okay, I've left my sheets to dry overnight and here is the results in the texture. They're very flexible. Sorry if you can hear Sweepy Bum, he's right next to me. I think we've got a storm coming, so I'm sorry if you can hear him in the background, he's a little bit anxious. So they're very flexible and it really is a mixture between fabric and paper. It's the only way I can describe it. You can trim up the edges if you want to, as long as... You're alright, boy, you're alright. As long as you've taken out all of the air bubbles, as I showed you, you can cut it, you can do what you want, and it's not going to fall apart. It is a solid structure. And it's really, they're really lovely and tactile and everything. And also because the glue makes it this flexible, but the glue does disappear, so you can do what you want to it. So if you want to, you can stick it through the machine. It's not going to damage the machine. The papers or the paper towel's not going to tear like a normal paper towel would. They're really quite alright, they're really quite what am I trying to say? Multifunctional, I guess is the word. So here's just a little booklet I put together just to show you some of the different designs. Glitters, because of the glue, any glitter you have in it or shimmer, they stick to the page really well, so they stay in there. This one's got a lot of shimmer and they don't come off, which is a bonus. And I just think even the pages that are quite simple, and you know, a lot of the white showing up, they only have a few blotches of ink. It's organic and it looks quite interesting. So I've just done a little quick sketch on the back just to show you that you can't really use pencil or anything on it. You need a bit more, I use like a brush marker here. So like a Pentel brush pen, like this, they'll work, or something that's got a little bit more thickness to it. But they're really interesting. They're like a canvas, I guess, is the nearest thing that we have to this kind of texture of the canvas. So yeah, if you want to see what I'm going to do with these, obviously look out for the monthly challenge that's going to come up 1st of June. If you are not already in the group, you can join the monthly challenge group on journalworkshops.ning.com. So I'll see you there. Much love, everyone. Bye.